What's up, everybody? We have got a very, very big day ahead of us. If the thumbnail is not giving it away, if these chests full of stone and andesite and everything else have not given it away, if these llamas have not given it away, I'm going to go ahead and give it away. We are going to be building a mountain. Now, how about we get started straight up into a time lapse? I thought that would be a bunch of fun. Just get it out of the way, get this huge mountain, and we may as well talk about what's going on, why we are building the mountain, and how this mountain is going to go down. So, first of all, this is going to be just your standard sort of mountain. Really tall, but it's going to have some very special things on it. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with some standard sort of things that I like to do, which maybe if you're trying to build a big thing is a good bit of point to have, or good points to have in terms of tips. First of all, I'm just laying out a good old structure around it. So that's just my way of tackling this sort of a problem. Now, what we are doing with this mountain is we got to bring in the story to here because it's important why we are putting this in here. Probably, I would say on episode 36 or something in this series, we were building a giant egg, dragon egg. That's right. And this mountain, although being weirdly shaped at the top, which is important, is going to be housing one of the four elements. So we've got your standard sort of, I can't remember what sort of elements they are. There's a word for it. But basically your air, your water, your fire, your earth. These four forces are very much in play in this world. And I thought it would be really cool to build this mountain and start to build a different style to what we're doing with our cities and with our buildings. So we obviously build a lot of buildings, you know, we don't build many organic shapes. But what I want to do here is I want to have this really cool tale being told of two dragons fighting over this mountain, being the water dragon, the fire dragon, fighting over this mountain, which houses the power of earth. And I really think that would be an awesome thing to just have around. I think it would be an awesome little thing to come around here and see this massive battle being waged on. Now, that brings us to why the next few episodes are going to be some of probably the most difficult things for me to build ever, possibly. I mean, they might very well turn out to be a very easy thing, but I very much doubt that. But what we are going to be doing is we're going to be building this dragon. I'm picturing the water dragon, or probably more of an ice, I would think would suit it a bit better. Dragon standing on top of this, hanging on. I'm kind of picturing hanging onto this mountain and just fighting this fire dragon. It's obviously going to be still, but it's going to be huge. Like, I'm not planning on doing a little baby dragon, because that's the problem with Minecraft. As soon as you go for like a smaller resolution, you start having a lot more struggles with these sorts of things. And I want to put in a lot of detail to this. So don't be surprised if these dragons take a bit longer. Actually, in fact, like this mountain took me quite a bit longer than I expected to build. It did take me a lot longer than I thought, but it's all right. It's not a big deal. And by the way, this is not too far away from the rest of the stuff in the world. I would equate this difference of distance as equivalent to the two cities difference from each other. This one is to the jungle village. So the one we've been working on recently, or city that we've been working on recently. But with this mountain, let me quickly talk about the shape here. I wanted it to be very obvious that it wasn't your standard mountain, like for instance, the extreme hills in the background, which I think we will do something with. Don't get me wrong. They're actually pretty interesting, but they aren't very, very, very pretty. So we're going to have to do something about that. But what I want to do with this over here is go ahead, make this sort of wizard shape, because I thought it was a bit more cartoonish. I want to go for a slightly more cartoonish build here. And then what we'll do is we'll have obviously the dragon going off the side, and we'll start adding a few more bits and pieces. I'm picturing, for instance, this claw coming in, holding on so it's kind of gripped onto this thing, and chunks of rock falling off. But we're not going to put that in until we actually get to that stage, which is also a bit to do with my method of building, which I like to put on a lot of stuff, and I like to take off probably more blocks than I put down. And I know it doesn't make sense mathematically, but I'm sure I probably work it out somehow. I feel like with most of these builds, I end up just slapping down as many blocks as I pick up as well. So pretty much what I'm doing here is it's very, very rough, and don't worry, that's gonna be chiseled down. You can see bit by bit, I'm just trying to fill in the gaps. And once these gaps are all completely filled up, like what I'm doing on the other side, which you can't see right now, we'll go ahead and start adding on the detail. And that's really the whole point of this particular build, is getting those detail bits in, because the whole build, I don't want this mountain to be the centerpiece of, well, it's going to be the central part of it, but not the piece that draws your attention. It's going to have these two dragons fighting. We don't want to detract from that fight. And by the way, of course, there are going to be many, many ideas. And if you've got an idea for what could be happening in this fight, maybe a bit more lore of why these two are fighting over this earth crystal, which I think we're going to be doing. I think if you got an idea, of course, we've got the lore section on our Discord server, or just leave it in the chat in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys have got in terms of that sort of stuff. There's always some really cool ideas, and I try not to give too much story of my story, at least, more just what's happening and you guys interpret it, which is I think in many ways just as cool. Instead of me prescribing a story to you guys see the story of the world and you can slap your own one in it. I think that's a really cool way of doing things. The only thing that I really do want to do is maybe get a few more names for places. So that's another thing we're going to have to work on. So the next stage here is, as you can see, as I'm filling this in, we want to get more of the earth feel to it as well. So we're going to have to do stuff like that. So adding in more dirt. I'm not too sure about the grass yet. I think the grass will be an interesting one. And just in general, this build's going to be, I think, a little bit difficult with the way that I've done it. Specifically with the shape of that little wizard hat pointing out. I think that's going to be quite difficult for us to actually get the dragon to hold on to this. And if anyone's got some advice on extremely large builds like this, of course, I would appreciate it in the comments, because it's going to be interesting. I'll tell you that. It's going to be very, very interesting. So you can see we've just changed from the first little bit of the time lapse to the second bit of the time lapse. I don't know if you saw it dip to black. And basically what I did was I went to repair my elytra. I went to go get a whole bunch of other supplies. And the reason for that is we flew around so much there. My elytra pretty much died. So we just made it. And it coincidentally was perfectly timed for me to go ahead and start adding a little bit of texture to this. I don't want to, as I say, do too much texturing. If you want to see some crazy mountains that we've built, we've had our fair share of just plain crazy mountains. This one's serving a different purpose to that. It's not serving a purpose of like covering in a whole city or making some defenses on the side. It's purely for this story that we're going to be telling. Another thought, this is my thought, of course, is above the sky where this is all going on. I want to do a custom sky, which is going to be insane. And I'm sure if you guys have got ideas for that, let me know. But I've got my plan currently, and I'm thinking it's going to be pretty awesome. And how's that for adding a bit more earth? Look at that. It's going fantastic. And I'll just step out a little bit. Bam. Look at that. I'm really loving this. It's a very odd shape right now, as I say. The dirt coming over the sides. All of that. But let's start adding in a bit more of the green to this place. And that is where we're going to go down here and grab some of these leaves, which I've actually just got around here. I wasn't planning on putting leaves here, but you know what? I abuse leaves. I overdo it with the leaves all the time. And builds without leaves always just look a bit too strange to me. So we're going to be dressing this with a little bit of green. And of course, as I was saying, not to detract from what this is looking like. Let's just go back here. Look at that. That's a little flyover. We'll just go a bit more this way. And since the time lapse, I've also added in the rocks at the bottom underneath the water. All of this stuff over here and a little bit more smoothing out, but not too much. But we'll get to that sooner or later. Now, besides that, besides all this, and of course the cool ideas that I hope this generates, the reason we are doing this is purely because I wanted to get this story. I wanted some sort of a story in this area. In fact, this, if you're wondering, is the southeastern quadrant of our world. Right around there, pretty much, or maybe around there, is where our flower farm is. Right around there on that, if you just keep flying in that direction, you'll get to our jungle village, and of course then that will be the snow village. So it's all the way on this side of the map, and it should fit in the map. And it was one of the things I was considering when we selected our seed, is of course I wanted this to all be within roughly 1600 blocks, and you can see there 1690, so it's all within that range. And I was looking around the seed before we started at what sort of stuff we could build and what mountain ranges were around, and I saw this. And I originally wanted to make this a dragon cave, like a dragon sleeping in the cave, but I had this idea and I thought, you know what? Let's go big. Let's go crazy. A dragon sleep in the cage, in a cave is in a cage. In a cave, it's been done many a time, and I think we can really have a cool battle being waged. Tell more of a story, in fact, with it than just a plain dragon sleeping. I would imagine it would be kind of like Smog, just sleeping in the cave, being awoken by something, which would be a pretty cool story, not gonna lie. I mean, it obviously works for for the Hobbit, but realistically, I think we can do a lot of a different sort of thing. There we go. Look at that. That is awesome. So that's a great alternative to using grass, because grass was going to leave these really weird green lines, but adding in this, that doesn't detract from the very earthy feel still. Surprisingly, I think the trick to this is keeping them clumped instead of, well, larger clumps instead of a few bushes. So I might just do a really large clump hanging down from there. That would work very well. Of course, what I was saying with the sky is probably we'll be using a lot of dark gray, well, gray glass and light gray glass to make this very scary, darker feel. I would really like that vibe. And the other thing that I would like to do in this setting over here is this little trick here where you go to details, you go to your sky, turn it off. By the way, if you're looking for these details and you don't have Optifine, that's why you don't have these features to turn it down. So this is the way you get it, like this. How cool and spooky would that be? So like eerie feel like this. You'll have the sky above you. I feel like that looks really spooky. Let's just leave this on for the rest of the time. I think it'll be really, really cool. So that's my thought at least. And of course with the two dragons fighting, oh man, it's honestly, I think this has got the ability to be probably one of my favorite builds, provided I don't mess it up. But if not, it's just going to be a very lengthy build, and I think I'll enjoy it. In fact, just a few days ago, I was playing on the Patreon server, busy building a few organic things for a little mini game, and I was really enjoying that. That's what kind of sparked my inspiration for this a little bit more than, well, it kind of made me feel like going this way a little bit quicker than what I expected to. And besides that, also the fact that we've been in the city for so long, and I thought it would be nice to break things up a bit with a very different way of building organic, which is strange, but something I've always wanted to do. So let's see if we can learn this together. In fact, I think this is in many ways a little bit more simple than a few other things, because of course organics just they your own interpretation of how it looks. So if you think it looks cool, it's what's important, you know. It's always going to be a blurry sort of thing. So let's just go up here and go out a little bit more and have a look at this here. But overall, tell me if you guys are excited. I want to know, because I personally am very excited for this project. And I'm excited for it in the way that I'm excited to build it, and I'm excited for it as well, for our world to have something unique and different to it. Of course, that's what we go for all the time, unique and different. That's why we build ships and stuff, hopefully making our own cool ships and showing you guys something different, I guess. So let's check that out. I've obviously textured that a little bit, which isn't too important. That is perfect. And, you know, I didn't want to do it, and I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. A little bit of snow at the top there wouldn't hurt, I don't think. I think that's going to work very well. Just a little tuft of snow down here. I don't want to go too crazy, but when we've got these backdrops over here, look at these mountains in the back, like right over there. Yeah, a little bit of snow won't hurt this. So with these as well, what I was talking about with those mountains, and we'll probably end up doing this on a stream or over like a time lapse again, where we build those mountains. They'll be a while down the way. That won't be what we're doing next. But what I want to do is for them to make them all sort of rounded off. We use the standard sort of shape that they've got there, and we'll just round them off, make them feel a little bit more smooth, and really play around with that idea of keeping the natural terrain, but just enhancing it a little bit more. That's what we want to do. We want to not maybe not go as crazy as we did with the snowy village. Although, you know how it turns out. That's just how we do things sometimes. So let's get this in here. And what I'll do right now is, I think what I'll get done is all of the greenery in this place. And this project so far has, by the way, taken quite some time, but it's so worth it. And I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying the little bit of terraforming again. Yeah, so I'll get the greenery going down here. As we get lower, I also want to have some rocks sticking out of the ocean and stuff like that. That's the future sort of stuff. As we get lower, I might put in some sort of trees growing out the side, perhaps. Tell me what you think about that. If you've got more things to add to this, I would be really, really interested. The other thing that I want to do is add some more diorite. And I know people always say it in my stream and stuff about diorite looking like bird poop, which is, it's true. It does look like poop. I can completely agree with that, and of course, I think that will work really well for this. Think of it. It's on the ocean. It's got seagulls. Seagulls are doing this stuff around here. Besides that, it could also probably be interpreted as like a combination between a bit of snow and a bit of gravel, perhaps. So we could probably do that up the top there. It would work, I think, pretty well, very sparingly. And then, of course, the rocks coming out here, trying to make it as if the ocean's very rough going up against here. I really wish we had waves in some weird way. I think that would be cool. Of course, I don't know how it would work, but that would look so awesome if we could have waves. In fact, maybe knocking this out a little bit, sort of like the ocean does. That could look kind of cool as well. So we've got a lot of stuff we can do to this thing, and right now I think I'm getting way ahead of myself. And we should just go ahead and add the color in, add a little bit of interest to this place. There you have it. Look at that. That is looking really, really awesome. I'm actually very impressed with the way this has turned out overall. But one thing I did actually forget to show you guys, I showed you the super cool llamas, which are all grown up right now. But down here is a really neat little passageway. This is completely naturally generated. It's the ravine falling in. You can actually see how the water hasn't yet loaded. It hasn't been updated to fall in there. But it's a really neat little piece here in the world, which is pretty cool. So if we go around this way, this is when I saw it from this direction. Look at that. Coming in here in between these mountains, you've got a natural cave going in there, which I thought that's very, very cool. So let's have a look at the crazy stuff that we were going on trying just in the past little bit. Right around there. That's looking pretty good. I don't want to overdo it. In fact, yeah, just everything's looking good except this, which I think I built actually in the last little clip, which is very, very strange. But overall, I think this place is looking wonderful. So it's just a matter of getting those dragons in. And I'm saying that just a matter of that, but really it's going to be more than just a little matter. It's going to be crazy. Hopefully it'll look pretty cool. So let's just take one big step back and check that out. Yeah. That is beautiful. So today, guys, what I think we'll do is we'll call that episode here. I've had a lot of fun with this episode. It's been a very, very crazy build for us in terms of size and in terms of a few little things which I've never really tried in terms of this shape over here. Look at that. I kind of get this feeling that it's like an eagle over there. Can you see like the little beak? If we made like a beak coming out of there, that shape or some sort of bird of prey could look cool as a shape there. That actually wouldn't be a bad idea for another mountain. Not gonna lie, that would be a pretty interesting idea. Maybe we could give that a go. Also, by the way, if you were wondering what these two things are, those are my little stopping pads. So I get to have a look from two different perspectives and try and compare the shape all the time, so I can actually stop. Pro tip there, just letting you know, that's a fantastic thing to do to get things right. I know, very simple, but it's very effective. So what we'll do today, guys, as I say, we'll call the episode there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you guys are as excited for this as what I am, and I will see you in the next one.